welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing away through the end of days. Brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and our friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodofTyrants.com. Promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show. It's going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. They have a red wine. They have a white wine, which is the Tears of Tyrants wine, along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink you see pictured right there. Go support the brands that have similar world views to yourself. No more of this woke shit. Look, the liberals are boycotting. They're boycotting everything. They've been boycotting this product since it came out. That's no secret. The liberals are boycotting. They're spending their money on brands that, you know, supposedly line up with their ever-changing worldviews. Why don't we do the same? And you can do that by going to drinkbloodofTyrants.com and using the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, to save yourself 10% off your order at the checkout. Boy, oh boy, do we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this week. We have got, well, of course, we're going to do a reaction to the Trump joint speech with Congress there. It was not the State of the Union. And when I say joint speech, joint session, I don't mean they all sat around and got high. He had a joint session with the Senate and House, both Republican and Democrat members. Well, most of them. We'll talk about who wasn't there. Well, we've also got a whole new generation of Democrat candidates considering running for president. And boy, oh boy, do they have some fire sitting on their bench. I mean, they've been grooming up their candidates for a long time now. We've got AOC could be in trouble. The Supreme Court pissed me off this week, one particular member. We've got another update on the never-ending Epstein document dilemma. We have got a story that I intentionally didn't cover because I wanted to wait and see what the truth was. And, well, lo and behold, the truth came out. We talk about the Best Picture Award at the Oscars. A familiar face from quite a few years ago reemerges, and the liberals are announcing a massive boycott of one of our favorite retailers over the Lenten season. Speaking of which, if you are watching along on YouTube and Rumble, you know we pre-tape these shows more often than not, and you just if you can see me, you might have a little idea of what day we're recording on. No, it's not dirt on my head. They just evidently didn't try all that hard when they smudged me. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is here with us as always. And the same guy got both of us, but for whatever reason, you can barely see mine. And she looks like she was brutally attacked by a gang of Sharpies. I mean, a few more square inches on Mia's face, and it might be legally considered blackface. How are you doing on this Ash Wednesday, where you got all of my ashes, evidently?
I'm feeling ashy.
You are feeling ashy. That is, Mia is very ashy today. Well, we got a whole bunch of stuff to get into, and I don't want to take up too much time bullshitting in the intro, so let's hop into the current state of the left real quick.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
All right, this week on the current state of the left, this is Cara Rogan. She is a board of supervisors member for Coolbaugh Township in Pennsylvania. And Cara and the woman, Cara's not the one recording, it's another woman recording, both showed up to a pharmacy before it opened because they wanted to get their pills. And Cara saw that the woman was waiting in the drive-thru at the pharmacy and became enraged. Why? Nobody really knows, but it just collapses from that point on. Go ahead and check this video out here.
Oh, what the fuck is she doing? What do you need?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that we were supposed to sit here, especially since you were behind me, so now you want to go ahead? I'm just going to block you. Now you're not going to go anywhere today, so I can sit.
Nobody's answering, so how is this my fault?
It says till 2 o'clock. Maybe if you roll your goddamn window down, you hear it.
Okay, so...
Here, who don't hear that message because you're busy playing on your fucking phone.
Okay, so what do you have to do here? What do you have to do here if it's open at 2? Why are you here?
Because I'm here to pick something up too.
Okay, so if it don't open till 2...
The elderly family in the
Okay, so if it don't open at 2, then how the hell are you gonna pick up your medicine? Answer me that.
Easy. I'm right in front of that thing. How are you gonna get it?
Okay, can you get the fuck off my car? Thank you, sir.
Actually, man.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Like I said.
Sir? Oh, really? Sir?
Thank you.
Sir? You want to keep saying sir, bitch? You want to keep saying sir, bitch? Piece of shit. Piece of fucking shit. You want to keep saying sir? Are you a Trump voter?
What are you gonna do?
Are you a Trump voter?
No, the
Is that what
fuck
you are?
I'm not.
Oh,
But
really?
what the
'Cause
fuck
you're
are you
talking
gonna
like
do?
one right
What
now.
are you gonna
Are you a
do?
MAGA
What are
bitch?
you gonna
You
do?
sound like a MAGA bitch.
But you touching my shit like you own it.
It is
Do you
shit.
own it?
It is
Do you
shit.
own it?
Denise, it
Okay,
is
but
shit.
why are you touching my stuff?
I'm not touching.
Why are you touching my
I'm
stuff?
not touching anything.
Clearly,
Why
you
are
was just.
talking?
I have you on
This window
camera.
closed till
I have you.
Everybody knows.
Bro, I'm not even playing. I'm not playing. Get the fuck in the car. I am not playing with you.
Oh, you're not playing. What are you gonna do?
Bro.
Oh, yeah.
Bro. Get the fuck in your car. I'm not fucking playing with you.
Why do the trans always show such masculine aggression, Mia? You ever notice that? The trans women just have so much pent up masculine aggression. I mean, I don't see women get out of cars to confront other women very often. That's all I'm saying. Now, Cara Rogan has, to our knowledge, no relation to Joe Rogan or Seth Rogan, for that matter. They may be like distant relatives, but to our knowledge, there is no relation. Now, here's what I've got to say. When I watch that video, one thing comes to mind. You have got in a public freak-out battle, the Clash of the Titans. You've got a black girl versus a trans woman, which is like the immovable object versus the unstoppable force. It's like the Mayweather-Pacquiao of customer service nightmares caught on camera. That's... Oh, man. Oh, man. What a train wreck. Well, that's been the current state of the left this week. The left is lefting, and we'll get into that in the lead topic here. Go ahead, take us to the lead topic. So, the Donald Trump had his joint session in front of Congress, and we're going to play some of the video clips from it in a little bit here. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. It was a really good speech. And you guys, it's all over YouTube. You can go watch it for yourselves. Now, he had his little playful jabs. He's Donald Trump. He can't help but attack people. He can't help but bash the former president. But the speech itself was actually really well. It was really well written and really well read. With that said, on the flip side, I don't think the Democrats could have done much more to make themselves look terrible Tuesday night. It was one of the worst political gaffes I think I've ever seen. And the worst part, it wasn't just one gaffe. It was a series of gaffes. They continued to make asses out of themselves throughout the night. It just over and over and over again. Now, here is this first video. This actually came out before the speech. Now go ahead, check this out here. This is several Democrat senators. We got 5 of them put side by side. There were actually 22 of them altogether that recorded this exact same video and posted it. But go ahead, check this out.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one, Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down. They're up. Inflation is getting worse. Prices of groceries, gas, eggs, of essentials. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. Meanwhile,
Donald Trump has done nothing to lower costs for you. Instead, he's hardened violent
letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw to rival government programs, and then, even worse, giving him access to Americans' sensitive data, Social Security.
That's enough. I feel like I'm schizophrenic right now. I mean, there were 22 of them recorded that same thing word for word. They just don't get it. Hey, you're out of touch. Hey, what's your number one critique of the Democrat Party? You ask anybody that, you'd say they're out of touch. They feel robotic, inauthentic. So what do? They all record the exact same video, word for word, on a script and have the same company edit it and push it out at the exact same time. 22 senators did that. They don't get it. Who writes this crap? Who comes up with these ideas? You're telling me this is the best you guys can do? I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm happy. Continue to act this way and watch what happens. Now, the Democrats had a phenomenal idea on top of a totally rehearsed robotic video that every single one of them recorded prior to the speech. This idea was, rather than draw attention to themselves, rather than do anything creative, they decided to sit there with signs. Go ahead, pull the picture of the signs up here. No, all the way at the bottom. All the way at the bottom. Yep. They decided to pull up a pic. They decided to sit there and hold up signs. Signs that said false, Musk steals, that's a lie. That's it. That was their big protest of Hitler. That's what they call him. He's Hitler. Did you know that's how we stopped the Germans in the 40s? Was we sat at one of Hitler's speeches and held up signs. And this is proof, number one, that they don't think he's Hitler, because if he was Hitler, you'd be doing far more to stop him than sitting there and holding up signs. Otherwise, you'd be arguably worse than Hitler. You know, that whole thing about the indifference of good men. This also shows what a bad spot that the Democratic Party is in here in early 2025. What a horrible position they're in. Just how pathetic, broken, and feckless they are. You have got this guy who, for whatever reason, is the single biggest driver of Democrat fundraisers, which is Donald Trump. Every time the guy runs for office, they set new fundraising records. That's a fact. Their base hates him. The only people Donald Trump motivates more than his own base is the Democratic Party's base. They should have all the momentum in the world. They should be fighting mad, have all the incentive to just come out swinging against this guy. But all they have the energy to do is pout in the corner and hold up signs. This man has broken them. There's no way around that. Now, I think we can all say, because I give Trump his credit where it's due, and I also have no problem criticizing both him and his messaging tactics when I don't feel he did a good job. So I personally feel, and you guys probably agree because you're still listening to the show on episode 203 or whatever this is, but I personally feel that I'm a pretty impartial source when it comes to Donald Trump and how I feel his speeches and debates go. Remember, I was really critical of him after the Kamala Harris debate. I thought he did a great job. But I wasn't the only one who thought that. In fact, CNN's instant poll after, mind you, these are CNN viewers. These are probably not a lot of conservatives tuning into CNN. Some independents and liberals tuning into Hate Watch. 69% of the people that watched this speech on CNN viewed it as positive. 69%. And that's not an outlier. CBS, which has arguably got an even more liberal viewership than CNN, found that 76% of its viewers approved. Now, when you get deeper into the numbers, we got some more here to go over. 77% of CBS viewers supported his plan to cut government waste and spending. 77% back immigration and border policies. 76% approve of Trump's speech. 76% approve of him removing a congressman who interrupted his speech. It wasn't him. It was Speaker Johnson. We'll play that video in a second. 74% say his speech was presidential. 73% support his stance on Russia and Ukraine. 68% said it made them feel hopeful and proud. 68% said he has a clear plan to tackle inflation. 68% said he accurately described America's crime crisis. 63% say he focused on issues they care about. Now, this is not CPAC. This isn't Fox News. This isn't InfoWars. This isn't That's Based with Caleb Salvatore, where you might have a slightly more biased audience. This is CBS, one of the most liberal news stations in the country. If conservatives are going to tune in at all, let me tell you, they're going to tune in to watch it on YouTube or Fox. They're not going to go to CBS to watch it. They're not going to go to CNN to watch it. So you've, at best, if you're CBS and the Democrat Party got a bunch of independents tuning in, and at worst, it's split between independents and moderates, or excuse me, independents and Democrats that are tuning in, and he's pulling these types of numbers. The Democrats, between their feckless attempt at a protest, one of the most pathetic attempts at protest I've ever seen, and these poll numbers, the Democrats have a real problem. Make no mistake, if they, and there's plenty of time between now and the 2026 midterms, but if they don't get their shit together, they're in a whole heap of trouble. I mean, a whole heap of trouble. And that's not just for the midterms, that's going forward. We're going to talk about some of their more inspiring candidates coming up on Trending this week here in a bit. But this is, if I'm the chair of the DNC, right? If I'm, or the vice chair, if I'm that little twink David Hogg, I'm sitting here panicking, looking at these numbers. Oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? Now, here's a video of Al Green. He is a representative from the state of Texas. He tried to cause a scene during Trump's speech, and, well, this is what happened. Go ahead.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the sergeant-at-arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
I thought they got Saddam Hussein. What the hell? You know, Mia, you said it last night. Do you remember what you said to me while we were watching this? You don't remember what you said? You said when they have these outbursts like that, do they not understand he feeds on this kind of stuff? You're not going to distract him. You're not making any type of statement. The guy's a former reality TV star, #1 show in the country for a long time. You're not going to beat him that way. He's going to dunk on you. This energy, this is like shooting adrenaline into his veins when you cause scenes like that. And again, I don't think I've ever seen something more symbolic of the current state of the Democrat Party than an old man with a cane rambling incoherently while he's drowned out by all the noise around him. That might actually be the single most symbolic display by the Democrat Party in 2025. Seriously, an old man waving a cane around, rambling incoherently while everyone else around him drowns him out so you can't understand a word he's saying. That's the Democrat Party. That's them. They're just missing a bottle of booze and you're already there. Now, Trump did a lot of what I said is called, or what we referred to on the show that Scott Jennings coined, called the 80-20 rule, where you take an issue that 80% of people agree with and you make the other side defend the 20%. Well, I think he went a little bit further than that. He took this thing called I would say the 99-1 rule is what we're going to call it, and made the Democrats defend the 1%. If there's even, it might be a bit of a stretch to say that 1% of the people in this country don't have souls, but the ones that do are all elected Democrats in Congress. So he had 3 instances that really stuck out. So part of the Democrats' plan was to not stand and applaud for anything he said or did, no matter how much they agreed with it, with one exception, which was the mentioning of sending money and weapons to Ukraine. Of course, they can clap for Ukraine, but they couldn't clap for things like a 95-year-old mother who got her son back from Russia. Didn't clap for her. I thought Russia was bad. Wouldn't you be excited that someone could get their son out of that horrible country? They love Brittany Griner, though. I'm just saying. They wouldn't clap for this kid right here, DJ Daniels, who was diagnosed with brain cancer, given 5 months to live, and wound up living like he's still alive 5 or 6 years later. He got bullied by a bunch of kids from his school because he wanted to be a police officer, and Trump honored him at the joint session. Go ahead, check this video out. They did not a single Democrat stood up and applauded this kid. A couple of them sat there and quietly clapped. Not a single one stood up and applauded for this kid. It's such a despicable, partisan, shameful act. I mean, you do show, every president does things like this at joint sessions. It's to unify people. You take issues that, hey, let's all at least come together on this. And is it a little bit of political theatrics and grandstanding? Yes, of course it is. But it's supposed to be like layups, right? That's what we call them. In comedy, we've got jokes that are layups. We know we're going to get laughs. They may not be the biggest laughs, but they're things we can fall back on. That's what this is supposed to be. But the Democrats wouldn't even give him this concession, and this is despicable. Go ahead.
Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. Thank you.
Mia, why are you chopping onions in here? Stop. Not a single one of them applauded this kid, though. Not a single one of them stood up to applaud for this kid. How gross is that? Can we put this partisanship and dehumanization of the other side? I have no idea how this kid's parents voted. It doesn't matter. So I'm not even going to talk about dehumanization of the other side. But can we put this... But that's what it is. I don't know what else to call it. This dehumanization of the other side aside. I mean, this is something that should unite everybody. I mean, you have to be the biggest piece of shit on the planet to have a problem with a kid with cancer, to not be able to set your partisan differences aside for like 3 seconds to stand up and clap for this kid. I mean, truly, could you imagine being that kid's dad and having to explain why half of the room didn't cheer for you? He doesn't understand. That's batshit. It's so pathetic and just shows the state of this country. Now, here's Representative Debbie Dingell. Go ahead and check this video out. She's the woman on the right here with the eye roll. Go ahead. Rolls her eyes and plugs her ear. Debbie Dingell. More like Debbie Dingus. I went to high school with a girl with the last name Dingus. What a horrible... Could you imagine having that last name? But by the way, she only got that seat because her husband passed away. It's in a dark blue district and she ran for it. Do people not understand? You're on television. Everything is on camera. They caught you rolling your eyes. That is a horrible moment. I mean, here's the thing with this DJ Daniels situation here. Is if you were the Democrats, I mean, how bad did you fuck yourselves on this? Because, and this is the problem, they get their marching orders from the people in charge that pull the strings, and they know they better damn well not break from the fray, not go away from the orders in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, they're in big trouble with the boss, whoever that may be. And they're so void of independent thought. They're so soulless. They've been so void of a soul for so long that they won't even do it for something like that. They won't even see even if you were given those orders by people above you that, hey, we don't legitimize anything he says by standing up and applauding it, even if we agree with it. You've got to understand on a human level, that's the one exception that's probably not going to get you in trouble. But they have whipped these people into line so harshly that they can't even break the mold on it. It's honestly kind of impressive The way they've brainwashed not just their followers, but their followers' elected representatives. I think the followers are the ones who are brainwashed. The elected representatives are the ones who are terrified because they'll end their careers with, a primary or maybe some dirt they have on them that's much worse. But here's the thing. The fact that they couldn't set politics aside and make an exception for that kid has fucked them so royally. Because here's what would have happened. If you would have stood up and applauded that kid and stood up and applauded this next video I'm going to show you in a minute here, you could, after the speech was over, your side could have done your rebuttal. You could have had, the press that you guys own 90% of do the quote-unquote fact-checking and throw spins on everything he says and half-truths and whatnot like you always do. You could have done your counterpoints. You could have brought up his insults and how he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas and blah, 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 blah. But instead, and they are doing those things, but the problem is those things are all falling on deaf ears. Those things are all being drowned out, and rightfully so, by what they, I guess I can't say did, but more so didn't do for this kid with cancer. That's all anyone's talking about right now, is how you guys snubbed the cancer kid. All of your rebuttals to what he said, maybe you had some legitimate criticisms of what he said. Maybe he did take a couple liberties with the truth. Doesn't matter, though, because nobody's going to hear that, because all anyone wants to talk about is the way you guys treated the kid with cancer like shit. So you've done this to yourself. Your lack of humanity continues to cost you on the national scale. It really was. And the thing is, this is, like I said,
you're
this
a
is
horrible, despicable person.
They really are. This is a unity move. Every president does something like this. This was not a political move by Trump. He wasn't expecting them to not stand up and applaud this kid. In fact, he probably thought this is the one thing we're all going to agree on. But they basically just gave him a Christmas gift in March by doing this. Now, this is the other one they didn't clap for. Go ahead and play this video here. This is another parent of a murdered child that Trump honored. Go ahead, check this out.
Joe Biden didn't just open our borders. He flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungary from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight, I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order?
Oh, you got 2 or 3 Democrats stand up for that one. Okay. Those are the ones in swing districts. Did 3 Democrats stand up for that one? Way to go, guys. Okay, that's enough. 3 Democrats. So they have officially solidified themselves as the We Hate Children Party over the last week. Sick kids, dead kids, unborn kids, kids who are maybe confused about their gender because their grooming teachers have told them a bunch of nonsense. Doesn't matter. We'll take them all. We'll mutilate them all. We'll kill them all. We hate them all. We hate kids. We're the We Hate Kids Party here at the DNC now in 2025. We have solidified that reputation. Any doubts about our reputation have been quelled. The worst part is this bitch reporter, Michelle Wallace, after that kid got appointed, an honorary Secret Service member. By the way, I still think he would have done better than that woman did at the Butler shooting that was like standing there hiding behind the person she was supposed to be protecting at the assassination attempt. Michelle Wallace, this bitch reporter, goes on air, has the nerve, and says, childhood cancer is horrible, and we wish the best for DJ and his family, blah, blah, blah. And then goes on to say, I hope that when you're a Secret Service agent, that you never have to deal with Trump supporters attacking the Capitol while you're on your shift and you have to commit suicide a couple days later, like what happened to the brave The people have no soul. This last week is proof of it. If you take nothing else from this episode, it's that the Democrat Party is completely devoid of a soul. I mean, these are soulless, mindless robots that know nothing other than to fall in line with their marching orders and repeat recycled talking points. That's it. That's all they have. That's all they've got. Their original thought, which is hilarious because the left loves to boast themselves as the side of creativity and artistry and all that. But original thought is totally banned. Totally banned. They're all for diversity, but not diversity of thought. They don't want anyone who thinks any differently than them, anyone who's willing to break away from the fray. Now, I guarantee you the 3 people you saw stand up in that video with the wildlife refuge, I guarantee you that those 3 people are in swing districts, and they probably got special permission to stand up for something like that beforehand. The rest of them, if you're in a dark blue district, who gives a shit? You maintain that order. Don't you dare break away from the fray. Don't you dare do it. It's so disturbing that they can't put politics aside. And it really, I had a personal experience today. I'm not going to out this person or use their name or anything like that. But I got a text message from somebody I know who's on the left that I haven't talked to recently. Probably because my political views are very well known. But I got a text message. It says, we have a Trump, like I said, I'm not going to use this person's name. They're not a public figure or anything. It's a privacy thing. But this is just an example that this isn't just at the top. The whole left is rotted to its core. It really is. It says, we have a Trump supporter in the office, and she just said, I'm wearing red for a reason today. Is something going on? I don't want to ask what she's talking about because I think that would count as discussing politics, and I don't want to get sent to HR for this. Well, turns out I actually know what that means. That's for women's heart disease awareness. My cousin was born with a hole in her heart, and her family wears shirts that say that all the time. So I actually know what that means. But folks on the left have been so brainwashed, and they've forgotten that people who may vote differently than you, even if they're loud and proud about how they voted, they have other things going on in their lives. And you guys have dehumanized them to the point that you think literally everything they do is political because you only see them as a political entity. And that's a big problem. That leads to people not standing up when a kid with cancer gets an honorary nomination or an honorary membership to the Secret Service. That type of dehumanizing of the other side, has led to civil wars and human rights violations throughout history. In fact, it's leading to them right now. Look no further than what's going on over in Burma, Myanmar, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. It's a more extreme version of what we have here, but you've got 2 sides of the coin that have dehumanized each other for so long that they're committing atrocious human rights violations against each other because of it. And that goes on all over the world. That's not just, I mean, Israel, Palestine. What's going on both sides over there? It's nonstop. Just take a break, from the partisan hackery for 2 seconds to step back and go, hey, we disagree, and I don't even have to like you because we disagree on something, but I do recognize that you're a person, that you're a human. I mean, it's crazy how quickly we've gone downhill since November 5th. You know, I was talking about on the post-election show, we did that whole video of the liberal meltdowns and talking about people cutting off their friends and family. And I'm saying, hey, don't cut your friends and family off. You voted differently. They're still your friend. They're still your family. They're still the same person you knew. Now I'm at the point where I'm saying, hey, you don't even have to talk to these people. If you don't like how they voted, fine. If you want to cut them off, that's your prerogative. But at least acknowledge that they're a human. At least acknowledge they're a human being that has their own struggles, their own demons, their own wins and losses, ups and downs, whatever you want to call it. And they're not just some mindless, or they're not just some political machine that only operates that way. That the only things going on in their lives are politics. It really goes to show how dangerous it is when you're unable to operate on anything other than politics. When you can't even stand up and applaud a wildlife refuge being named after a dead little girl, or a kid with cancer getting an honorary Secret Service designation. I mean, it's just so gross, guys. So gross. Be better than that. I know you can. I know you can be. It's going to take you a little bit. But the way the mainstream media has hijacked you and taken your souls from you should be deeply disturbing, because it is disturbing to me. I mean, it concerns me, because it's like I said, 5 months ago, we were saying, hey, still be friends with people that voted differently. Now we're saying, hey, just acknowledge that they're human beings and be able to rally around things that other human beings, regardless of how they voted or their religious views or whatever the case may be, should be able to agree on. Mia, would you wager before or after the end of the year we're saying, hey, could you at least just not kill people because they voted differently than you? What do you think? Before, over under December 31st, 25, am I on here begging people to stop killing each other because they voted differently? Over? So you think 2026 is when the gunfire is going to start? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page on that. But I mean, that's the thing, is you have to see these people, like, not everything they do is motivated to hurt you or destroy you or own the libs or own the conservatives or however it is they voted. Like, there's everyone has things going on in their lives. And most people, like I said, even if they're loud and proud about politics, don't center every single one of their actions and every one of their statements around politics. But they're so used to being force-fed, spoon-fed this by the mainstream media, that they forget there's a human being on the other side. Now, here's the last thing I'll leave you, because there were retorts and everything about Trump, and I'm seeing a lot of talk about the economy. Here's the last thing I'll leave you with. I personally don't feel like the economy is any better or worse than it was before Donald Trump took office. I think the things that have happened, he's only been in office for a month and a half. I think the things that have happened already were going to happen regardless of who the president was. And I think it's going to take at least a year before we see any real change here. So buckle up. It's going to be a little bumpy. With that said, what I want you guys to keep in mind going into the next 3.5 years is that the same mainstream media that told you for the last 4 years that the Biden economy was humming and that there were actually no problems with the economy, it was going great, and in fact, you were the problem. You were ungrateful, you were too materialistic, you were too greedy, you were the problem. The same media that told you that is going to spend the next 4 years telling you that the Trump economy is a disaster and it's in the toilet. What I want you to do is I want you to listen to your bank account the same way you did the last 4 years over the next 4 years, because you're going to see constant attacks and every bad thing that in there. It's the stock market, it's inflation, stuff's going to ebb and flow. So you're going to see the constant attacks over the next 4 years. I want you to tune them out the same way you tuned out the Biden administration's gaslighting on how quote unquote great the economy was for the last 4 years. And I want you to listen to your wallets and your bank accounts. Do you have more money left at the end of every paycheck or less than when he took office. Those are the things I want you to pay attention to over the next couple of years. Not what CNN's saying, not what Democrat politicians and podcasters and Twitter accounts are saying, not what the garbage Drudge Report's reporting. I want you to take an honest look at your bank account and say, do I have more or less money? And tune out the rest of the noise, because these people have lied to you once, they will lie to you again. They also lied to you about how well Kamala Harris's campaign was going. They tried to gaslight you into giving up and not even bothering to vote by astroturfing a campaign for her. They lied about crime statistics for 4 years until at the very end it came out, oh yeah, we fabricated those too. We weren't reporting all the cities. They have no problem lying about the state of things to make them look better than they actually are. Make no mistake, they're not going to have any problem lying about the state of things to make them look worse than they actually are. And we've already seen that they have an incentive to do that. So take everything you hear about the economy over the next couple of years with a large grain of salt. That has been our lead topic. Stay tuned. We got Store Brand TMZ coming up. Oh, I'm so excited for Store Brand TMZ, Mia. Do you know why?
Because of the Oscars?
No, because I have found the new AJ and Big Justice. We're getting out in front of this one. I mean, it's already a big account. But you guys don't know about this. I'm about to make a bunch of fans out of this. Okay, stay tuned. All right, and it's time for Store Brand TMZ. Justin Bieber! All right, before we get into Store Brand TMZ, this week's Store Brand TMZ is brought to you by Firecracker Farms, more specifically Hot Salt, firecracker.farm, promo code BASED, like the title of the show, going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. Remember, that's firecracker.farm, not .com, .org, or .net, firecracker.farm, F-A-R-M. It's going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. They got this great product called Hot Salt, which goes great on everything, made from love on a family farm. Hot Salt is a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, ghost pepper, and Carolina Reaper. Put it on your chicken, put it on your beef, put it on your margaritas, put it on your fish, whatever the case may be. Firecracker.farm, promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, will save you 10% off your order at the checkout. Okay, Mia, are you as excited as I am for this week's episode, or this week's edition of Store Brand TMZ? Well, have you heard of this account on the TikTok and the Instagram, and I believe the Facebook, called Wise Words from Neve?
No, I don't think so.
So it's this girl. She's got to be like early 20s because they shoot a lot of these videos on a college campus. And she posts videos like this one. Go ahead.
I just quit my job at the helium factory. Because you know what? I won't be spoken to in that tone of voice.
Millions of views. Millions of views. Or this one.
In what country do you always wear a sweater? Chile. Chile.
So what do you think, Mia? Stroke of comedic genius? What's your opinion on that? On
I actually really like it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like awkward funny.
Yeah, she's the awkward, funny thing. So it's this cutesy little all-American girl with the dad jokes. It's innocent. I'll play one more. So the reason we're reporting on Wise Words from Neve is not the video she's posting, but the comments she receives on the videos being some of the most unhinged shit I have ever seen, specifically Instagram. TikTok's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as Instagram. I'll play one more, and then I will read you the top comment from this video.
Someone broke into my house last night and stole all my antidepressants. I hope they're happy.
It's funny, right? Now, here's the top comment. Hilarious. Pry out all my teeth and replace them with your toenails while you sing the Star Spangled Banner. I went and I found some other good ones, some of my favorites. Don't flush until my family gets there. We're having soup tonight. I laughed so hard, removed my appendix. LMAO, waterboard me with battery acid. This is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Circumcise me with a potato peeler. Hilarious. Braid my hair and ass hair together and take me like a suitcase. Oh my gosh, Neve. That's so funny. In 2007, I saw a woman get dragged into a van and I did nothing to stop it. And then the next comment says, good one, Neve. In 2007, my aunt went missing. She was last seen being dragged into a van while some dude watched. Oh my Lord, what an uproarious reel. In March of 2007, I rented out a van to a guy who insisted I remove the indoor locks. Astoundingly witty, Neve. In 2007, I was forced at gunpoint to getaway drive a van with a poor rope-bound blindfolded woman in the back to an undisclosed location. After we arrived, I was paid and told to run very far away very fast. This is my first time ever telling anyone about it, and I fear for my life. The next video had comment, this is hilarious. Take a blowtorch to my taint as you read me Bible verses. Hilarious. Bake my intestines with cruciferous vegetables. That's funny. Force drip feed me alcohol after I get my 10-year sober chip from AA. Neve, what a hilarious joke. Please have the highest ranking member of the LDS Church give me a Kentucky Klondike bar. Hilarious. Take my fingernails off with bamboo while you interrogate me in Vietnamese. These are my favorite. Mia, I think once a week now we're going to read the top comment from Wise Words from Neve. What do you think? We read her top, what my favorite comment that we pick each week. We'll do it on Storebrand TMZ.
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good to you? Do you like that better than AJ and Big Justice?
Way better.
Next up here at Storebrand TMZ, we of course had the Oscars. We'll talk a little bit later on in Trending This Week about who won Best Picture at the Oscars. But we have got Adam Sandler. Check out how he dressed up to the Oscars. It's go ahead. It's just a picture. He was wearing the Fetterman collection to the Oscars with the zip-up hoodie, hood on, Adidas basketball shorts, cheap socks, and then dad shoes. I mean, the guy's got it going on. That's his shtick, though. That's his shtick. Why does he do that? You know, he's still dressed better than Zelensky, than President Zelensky is, I think. The next one, Lizzo, has showed off her glow up. Or should we say glow down? Go check this out. I'm not even being a dick here. Look at this.
You look good, queen. Hold on. Let me show the fit then. Let me give you the fit details, because you already know.
Look at that.
You already know I'm in that giddy. You already know I'm in that motherfucking giddy, hoe. I'm in that giddy, bitch.
She's just frumpy now.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks good, doesn't she? What do you think?
She looks, yeah.
By her standards.
Yeah, by her standards, she looks good. I actually saw, like, someone posted, like, before and after pictures of her, like, now, and it's very good. I'm sure she was on Ozempic.
Oh, I'm sure she's on Ozempic. Yeah. Here's the thing, is her whole brand is being fat. And the elites have used her for a long time to tell young women that it's okay to be morbidly obese and treat your body like a landfill, because that's part of the depopulation agenda. That's how they make us, fat, weak, pathetic, and unable to fight back. So my question is here's what she is going to get: a nasty false rape allegation. Some type of false abuse allegation to cancel her is coming down. It's coming down the pipe. Stay tuned for that one. Next up, Finnish rapper Karaja. I'm sure I butchered that. But that's how it's spelled in American, so that's how I'm going to read it. So American. Did you know Trump has renamed the English language to the American language now? That's how we're going to roll with it. But Karaja is a Finnish rapper who announced his new tour with this graphic. Go ahead, pull the image up here. All of his dates are down there. Mia, look at what the cities spell. The first letter of every city. Spells out faggot for those of you listening. He's got Frankfurt, Amsterdam City, I'm not going to pronounce, Galway, Oslo, and Tallinn. Spells out faggot. What a guy. What a troll job. I think the guy is gay. I don't know. By looking at him, he looks gay. That's like Milo Yiannopoulos.
Bunch of slap-jawed faggots around here.
Back when Milo Yiannopoulos was touring around doing the MAGA thing, and he was still gay before he went to conversion therapy and became straight or something. I don't know. To each their own. Do your thing. He was going around and he had the Dangerous Faggot tour. He was like embracing it. Next up, Billie Eilish's brother has gotten himself in a little bit of hot water. Have you heard this?
No, but I'm just wondering what Billie Eilish's brother
Phineas is his name. Did you know that?
Yes.
Phineas is the last name really Eilish, or is that a stage name?
I think their last name is really Eilish.
Okay. Well, Phineas Eilish has gotten himself in some trouble here, some controversy with the internet, because the internet, folks online, specifically Billie Eilish fans, just a picture here, are claiming that his new girlfriend looks way too much like his sister. Does she look like Billie Eilish? It just looks like a white girl with dark hair.
It just looks like the typical girls nowadays that have the like big eyes.
Kind of looks like she has Down syndrome.
I mean, if you like look close enough, I can see the resemblance, but like, no.
It's a white girl with dark hair.
Yeah.
That's the sloth eyes. They're SSRI eyes because that's what anxiety and depression meds do to you. But the SSRI eyes, that's a trend now, unfortunately, that we've created, because it just makes people look hollow, and more women are on SSRIs than men, so more women are naturally going to have that hollow, soulless look to them, as they continue to pump our young men and women full of drugs, full of this poison. Last up here, we have a Twitch streamer and OnlyFans star. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Amaranth. Did you hear about this? She bragged about how much money she had, and I'm not going to show the video because we'll get taken off YouTube for it. But she bragged about how much money she had on a Twitch stream, and then live on camera, you see these guys. It was on her crypto account. She bragged about these guys break into the studio and then pistol whip her and hold her at gunpoint to try to extort her for the money. But her husband comes out with a gun of his own, starts shooting at the guys. They flee. She gets into a gunfight with them, and they leave without getting any of the money. I don't know if this was a setup or not. She also, it sounds like, faked. If I remember right, this was the girl, faked some type of like verbal abuse from her husband to get more subscribers on one of her channels. If I've got the wrong person, I apologize, but the name sounded familiar. Lesson learned, guys. Don't brag about how much money you have on the internet. If you have something that could be of any value to somebody, that there might be some type of incentive for them to steal, don't brag about it. Not if you're easy to find. It's just not worth it. If you've got a lot of crypto in your bank account, or if you've got a lot of money in your crypto account, Coinbase, whatever it is, great. Don't tell anybody that. Because guess what? There's a bunch of hackers out there that are going to break through that. And if they don't come rob you at gunpoint, they'll just wipe your account clean before you even know it. So don't brag about these things. Keep it to yourself. You want to buy some nice shit? Go and buy some nice shit. Go out to dinner, vacation, whatever you want. Whatever. Not my business. Do what you want. Congrats. You earned your money one way or the other. But the internet doesn't need to know about it. Anyway, this is the Rolex I bought yesterday. No, I'm kidding. What were you going to say?
It's not about this.
Oh.
Is that okay?
No, that's fine. I was wrapping up.
Okay. So I did some fact checking on myself for Billie Eilish. So Eilish is her middle name. It's Billie Eilish Pirate Baird O'Connell.
There's no way that's her real name. There's no way that's her real name.
It says that pirate was inspired by her brother Phineas, who called her pirate while she was in the womb.
Are you kidding me? Okay, then give it to her as a nickname. You don't need to make it her government name.
Billie Eilish Pirate Baird O'Connell. So O'Connell is her last name.
Oh my God. Some of you should not be parents. I'm serious. The wrong people are the ones having too many kids nowadays. Okay, that's been store brand TMZ. Now I'm just pissed off. Now I'm going to kill the plant some more. You see? My energy is going to kill the plants. That's been store brand TMZ. Stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming up and trending this week. All right, and now it's time for As the World Burns, where we talk about all the fun stuff going on in geopolitics, international politics. We do a brief little segment on that. Every now and then we'll have guests. This is not one of those times. But we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on in Ukraine, whole bunch of stuff going on in Gaza. First and foremost, though, this week's segment, As the World Burns, is brought to you by Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, it's going to save you 15% off your order at the checkout on gifts for the Patriot in your life. Also, if you use that promo code BASED to get 15% off your order at the checkout, they're going to give a portion of the proceeds to help build homes for wounded veterans. They've got pro-American apparel for not just you, but your vehicle, your home, your pets. Go check it out. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com, with the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, to save yourself 15% off your order at the checkout. Support the brands that support us. All right. Okay, let's jump into it. Should we do Gaza or Ukraine first? What should we talk about?
Go alphabetical order. Ukraine.
Are you serious? I'm going to assume that was a joke. We'll go alphabetical order. So Gaza. You're not helping your case here when people comment and ask if you're having a stroke on the air. You're not helping.
No, I'm just stupid.
Oh, stop. Okay, it says, so Gaza. So Donald Trump, remember, we covered it a couple weeks ago. I wasn't really comfortable with this idea, but I also kind of understood where he was going with it. Donald Trump basically pitched the idea to the Arab nations. He said, hey, if you guys are going to keep fighting over Gaza, here's what's going to happen. The U.S. is going to come in. We're going to bulldoze everything that's been destroyed, and we're basically going to build the Las Vegas of the Middle East right on the Gaza Strip. That's what we'll do with it. Now, if there's one thing we've learned about Donald Trump, it's the art of the deal. I'll give you an example of what the art of the deal means. So if there's one thing we've learned about Donald Trump, you make ridiculous initial offers so that you set the starting point, right? You don't let the other side set the starting point. You set the starting point as something ridiculous that you know they're not going to accept, and then you work to meet in the middle. But if you put your initial demand as something that's absurd and far out there, you're going to end up a little bit closer on your side when the two of you meet in the so-called middle. So when I got in a car accident a couple years ago, I got hit by a 16-year-old drunk driver. It was an open and shut case. We initially demanded the maximum for his insurance, which was $100,000, right, for the payout. And the insurance company gets back to us. They go, well, the most we can do is $7,000. And I go, well, that wouldn't even cover my medical bills. So no. So I asked my lawyer, I said, what do we do next? And he goes, well, we just negotiate until we get a little bit closer. Now, if we had started with $50,000, my number wouldn't have been as higher. We knew we weren't going to get the $100,000 demand, but we decided to do it anyway. So what we did was I said, okay, fine. If they want to make had they offered like 15, 20, I would have negotiated with them. But I said, if they want to make a clown ass offer like that, tell them that my next offer is $99,999.99. We got back to them. They said, okay, we'll do $11,000. So I said, okay, my offer is $99,999.98. Then they got to about 13. We said, absolutely not, $99,999.97. And they said, well, the highest we can go is 13. We said, cool, we'll see you in court. Well, you'll have to pay even more than $100,000. So a couple months before the trial, they reach out to my lawyer, totally unprovoked. They say, hey, we know we declined your initial offer, but how about 30? And we just avoid all of this and go to court. And then they had blinked. And I knew that we had them right there because I learned this when I was selling cars. The first person to talk loses. They blinked first. So there was, if they were offering 30,000 out of the blue to avoid going to court, there was obviously a lot more wiggle room. We wound up walking away with about $75,000, which was more than I thought I was going to get. So when you start at an absurdly high point and you make your opponent, long story short, meet you in the middle's a whole lot more ideal to you than if you started at what was a reasonable point. You never give a reasonable first offer because it tells your opponent or the person that you're negotiating against that you see that as an extreme and you're willing to meet them a little bit closer to the middle, a little bit closer to what they want. So all that to say, that was a long rambling take. This is a PBD podcast. I'm Adam Sosnick. No, I'm kidding. But so all that to say, the Arab nations rejected Trump's proposal to turn Gaza into the Las Vegas of the Middle East under U.S. control. And they've said, hey, instead of that, how about we invest $53 billion to rebuild the Gaza Strip and bring some type of order to it to make sure that these extremists aren't running the show? It's like, hey, that's actually exactly what we wanted. So we see this time and time again with Trump. You saw it with Europe, with Zelensky in Ukraine over there. Now you're seeing it with Gaza. You saw it with Panama. Trump makes an absurd offer. The other country goes, whoa, 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 whoa. No, you're not doing that. When at first they weren't even willing to come to the table and talk. But he says something so extreme and crazy that they go, hold on a second. No, we can't let that happen. They all come to the table. They come up with a plan, and then they do exactly what we wanted. So you're watching the art of the deal in real time, truly. You also saw it this week with President Zelensky in Ukraine. So remember, we had that Sunday bonus episode. Here's a little timeline. Friday, Zelensky threw a fit on national television, blew up on Trump and Vance, started a huge shouting match. They kicked him out of the White House and because he wouldn't sign the deal. Saturday, Zelensky goes to London, begs for money from Europe, says, please give me money. The U.S. is going to cut me off. I need money to keep funding my money laundering, war. So Europe says, okay, this is the best we can do. And they give him way less than he was asking for. And then they say, yeah, we talked tough. We held a whole summit with Canada and everything to show our support for you. But, emotional support's really the mess we can do here. So if you want money, you're going to have to go back and kiss Trump's ring. You really need to go apologize. Like get on your knees and beg for forgiveness from Trump. So Monday, Trump sees how little the EU gives him because he knew this all along and says, all right, Zelensky, if you don't come to the table ready for peace, you're not going to be around for very long. Trump's exact words. Hours later, he cuts off all weapons sales, aid, funding, and stockpiles to Ukraine. Says he refuses to give Zelensky any more until he has it in writing that he's committed to a ceasefire and peace. Tuesday, Zelensky writes Trump saying, hey, I'm ready to commit to the peace deal and the mineral deal. That's the art of the deal, kids. That's the art of the deal. Trump knew he had a strong hand and decided to sit back and watch. I'm going to take what they give me and just wait. Because I know I know I have the high ground in this negotiation, so I'm just going to wait here. That's the art of the deal right there. And he's going to get everything he wanted. We're going to get paid back for the money we've wasted over in Ukraine. We're going to get peace. We're going to avoid nuclear extermination. This wouldn't have happened under Kamala Harris. Like I told you, they had on Sunday, the Biden administration had agreed to send weapons and money to Ukraine. They had spaced it out through 2026. They had no intention of ending this war. Had Kamala Harris won, we're going to 2028. We probably have, in the presidential election, we've probably got U.S. troops on the ground fighting Russia. Donald Trump's going to end this in his first year, not the first 24 hours like he promised. That was a ridiculous and stupid thing to say. But in his first year, he's on track to end this, possibly in his first 6 months, on track to end this war by summer. It's an impressive feat. And if he doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize when this deal closes out, then he's been robbed. The other thing about the mineral deal guarantees peace. It guarantees peace without making the U.S. adhere to NATO, and it guarantees peace without the U.S. having to constantly fund and arm Ukraine, and it guarantees peace without Ukraine joining NATO, and it guarantees peace without Ukraine getting nukes, because the deal Trump's agreed to would put United States companies in these mineral mines, which are on the border or close to the border with Russia. So if Putin invaded, he would be putting American citizens and American interests at risk, which would immediately result in a response from the United States. Putin knows Putin doesn't actually want a hot war with the U.S. He's intentionally avoided it for decades now. So Putin won't go into Ukraine because he knows American assets would be at risk, which would immediately prompt a response from not just us, but the rest of NATO. It's a brilliant idea by Trump. It gets us everything we want, including world peace, which is most important. Maybe not world peace, but peace in Europe. Brilliant. I mean, the guy is thinking 20 steps ahead of everybody else. And I've been critical of some of the things him and his administration have done, Donald Trump. This is a masterclass in negotiation. This is a masterclass in foreign policy. They're going to talk about Donald Trump. Yeah, we'll get all the idiots attacking him for the next couple of years now. 50 years from now, when this is all said and done, granted this deal doesn't fall apart, we're going to talk about this as one of the greatest political masterclasses in terms of foreign policy in human history. Take it to the bank. That's been As the World Burns. Stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming up for trending this week, and you don't want to miss it. All right, and trending this week, before we get into it tonight, Beach House Bar and Grill, one night only. We've got the Salty 16 Roast Battle Tournament starting at 9 p.m. Tickets are $10 cash at the door or on eTix. Beach House in Omaha, Nebraska, just north of 103rd and 4th Street. We're going to be having over a dozen of the Midwest's top comedians compete for the title of Midwest's meanest comic. This is our once-in-a-year event. We don't do it very often, as you know, kind of given away by the title of once-in-a-year event. You don't want to miss it. Come by tonight only, 9 p.m. Doors open at 8:30, but if you want to show up for dinner, they'll be there at like 4. So hang out and eat with us, drink with us, have a good time. I'm going to be hosting it. It's a great... Mia, aren't the roast tournaments your favorite show we run?
Yeah, they're funny.
They're always fun. People, it's all in good fun. Everybody's friends. There's not any, usually there's not any bad blood. Every now and then we have a little bit, and you'll know by the looks on their faces, but it's a good time. The crowd gets involved. We let you guys vote on who wins. You don't want to miss it if you're in the Omaha metro area. Tonight only, Saturday, March 8th, Beach House Bar and Grill. Be there or be square, 9 p.m., just north of 103rd and 4th Street. $10 cash at the door on eTix. It's 21 plus. However, if you're 18 to 20, we will allow you to come in, but we're going to charge you an extra $2 to offset the liquor charges. That's going to go directly to the bar. I'm not going to keep any of that. And then we're going to get, we're going to mark both your hands with giant black X's. If you're under 18, we don't want you there. Wait till you're 18. It's not a show for kids. I know there's like some of these comedy shows. I saw one the other day. It was of course, it's these woke comedians, and the show's based around sex, and it's like recommended age is 18 up, but if you're under 18, you can come with a guardian. No, I'm sorry. I'm not a prude. Your kids have no business being at a show like that. I'm at least willing to accept the fact and admit that kids have no business being at my show. I'm more qualified. That's like when we were talking about the drag queen thing. People were like, oh, you're a vulgar comic. I'm like, yeah. And I'm more qualified to talk about this than anybody because your kids have no business being at my shows. By the way, we're going on a little mini tour in March. We're going to be at the Westfall Lounge in Omaha on Sunday the 16th at 5 p.m. That's out in West Omaha. On the, what day is it? Let's see. I'm going to be doing, that's the 16th. Sunday, the 23rd, I'm going to be doing Quick Draw Comedy out at Emmett's Tab. I'm going to be the guest judge on that show over there. And then Saturday, the 29th, Emporia, Kansas, down at Il Casa, 8 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Come hang out. Tickets are available at the door and online. I got some, we're working on some dates in like western, southern Nebraska in like April. I don't have any solid dates for you yet, but hopefully we'll have those soon. I'm not coming out of retirement or anything, going back to traveling full time on the road, nothing like that. But we're gonna have some dates sprinkled out here and there. I do miss getting in front of a crowd and crushing it every now and then, and I like to remind myself that I'm still good at that, and I don't have to talk about politics to make people laugh. So come hang out at those shows. We'll hopefully have some more dates for you coming up in the spring and summertime. Okay. We're talking about like November, going to New England possibly. Mia's going to hit the road with us too. We might do a live show or something like that. That'd be fun. Stay tuned for that. We'll see what's going on over there. Okay. This week in trending this week, the Democrats have got a whole roster of new talent that they want to run for president. And they've got two people that have publicly expressed interest in being the next presidential nominee for the Democratic Party in 2028. And some are more promising. And then we've also got some people they're speculating on, some much more promising than others. The first potential presidential candidate that threw his name out there said, hey, maybe I could do it. Earlier this week, Mia, who do you think it was?
I don't know. Taylor Swift.
It was not Taylor Swift. It was none other than our personal favorite. The guy's like a cockroach. You can't get rid of him. Just when we thought we were done making fun of him for like a 6 or 7 month span, he comes crawling back. None other than Coach Sandusky himself. Tampon Tim Walz suggested that maybe he should run for president as the Democratic nominee in 2028. Oh my goodness. If you want to get beat even worse, nominate Tampon Tim Walz. Tim Walz says he may run for president in 2028 despite failure of 2024 Harris campaigns from the UK's Independent. He says, let's see, it says, I think I could offer if I think I could offer something, I would certainly consider that. If the circumstances are right in 2028, I'll do it. Tim, I'm here to say the circumstances have never been more right. Do it. I want to see Tim Walz run for president in 2028. Mia, how many votes do you think Tim Walz will get for president in 2028? 9 or 10?
Oh, we'll be generous. 10.
10, maybe 11 or 12. You know, if his mom's still alive 3 years from now, 3.5 years from now, he might get the votes. It's look, dude, there's a lot of people who think Tim Walz is one of the biggest reasons they lost back in November. Now, he wasn't the only reason, but Tim Walz, like I said over and over and over again, during the election cycle, the Democrats see Tim Walz as this salt of the earth, wholesome Midwest dad, but he's not. He's the guy you get to play the salt of the earth, wholesome Midwest dad in a CW sitcom. Not even like a high budget sitcom. Like a CW sitcom. It's like low budget. This is all we got. You know, he's Keith Scott. It's believable enough for the trash TV you're watching, but that's it. Nobody actually thinks that this guy's anything. You're not going to see any viral clips of him giving some advice on YouTube that gets played 20, 30 years later like he's Uncle Phil or something like that. None of that. It's just, it is what it is. It'll do for the role. Nobody's expecting him to be a world beater, but nobody's also buying what they were selling with him. He just and what they found was he was an insult. He was a goofball. Nobody took him seriously. The football coach thing was a lie. The National Guard thing was a lie. He couldn't do anything other than lie. And it was just a bad candidate. He was unrelatable to anybody, and it insulted the blue-collar Midwestern men that they struggled to appeal to so much. So Tim Walz is the first one who expressed interest. The second one is none other than ESPN talk host, who I think is the better of the two, and it's not even close, Stephen A. Smith. Go ahead and pull this video of Stephen A. Smith, who's been ripping the Democrat Party for their current strategy. And he actually reacted to a video that we just showed here earlier on the show. Go ahead.
Now you see why Stephen A. Smith was in the polls as a presidential candidate? See what I'm talking about? You see that idiocy right there? You talk about something, people being tone deaf. Why the hell would 22 Democratic senators be literally echoing the same thing and think that would resonate with the American people? All it shows is that the same fabric of our democracy is unchanging in the eyes of some of these officials, and as a result, the constituency they represent, which is why Donald Trump is in office. What, do I have to come up to Capitol Hill and give you lessons? Seriously, you don't get it? All you did, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer. Let's all get together. Let's put this in a prompter, and all together, albeit in separate rooms, we'll grab a microphone and say the same damn thing. And that's what's going to resonate with the American people. And then you wonder why you're no longer in power. You wonder why Trump is in the White House.
Now, Stephen A. has ventured more and more into politics over the last couple of months. He's been doing shows like PBD and the likes. He's been talking more about politics. Bill Maher was another one. He's been talking politics a little bit more openly over the last couple of months. This has been a trend for him, even prior to the election, because he's a lifelong Democrat, albeit a moderate one, so he says. And he's discussed it at the current state of the party. He's floated the idea a couple of times of running for president as a Democrat. Now, you can laugh all you want right here in 2025. Now, whether or not the party elite and, the party brass would allow him to be the nominee is a totally different story. I don't think they would. But I honestly, honest to God, of all the names that I've seen floated, he gives them the best chance to win. The Democrat Party commentators, folks on the left who have been a little bit more open, folks such as Jon Stewart, folks such as Bill Maher, folks such as Cenk Uygur, despite his rage, that have been more open with their criticism of the Democrat Party, that have been more willing to step out of line, have been saying one thing. They've had one resounding message, which is that the Democrats need their own Trump. They need their own Trump. They've been saying things like they need their own Joe Rogan. Well, they did have their own Joe Rogan. He was Joe Rogan, and they ran him off because he was an independent thinker. If I would have told you can laugh all you want about an ESPN talk host, the number one ESPN talk host, by the way, and it's not even close, being a nominee for a major party for president in 2028. However, let's pretend it's 2013, right after Obama dog walks Mitt Romney in the election. Let's say Caleb Salvatore, who was like a junior in high school back then, say he has his own show and he goes on the air and he goes, you know what? This milquetoast, agreeable, boring, vanilla brand of conservatism that folks like Mitt Romney and John McCain bring to the table is not working. Barack Obama, whether you agree with his policies or not, he's intelligent, he's well-spoken, and he gets people motivated. We need somebody who can fire up the base. We need somebody who's got a history of saying what's on his mind. He's got experience in front of a camera, and he's excitable. We need Donald Trump. If I would have said that in 2013, I would have got laughed out of the building. And then 3 years later, I would have been right. I'm going to sit here right now and tell you, I'm not a Democrat. This is free game. I want you guys to continue refusing to clap for kids with cancer. I want you guys to continue nominating people like Tampon Tim Walz. I'm going to tell you right now, free game. Stephen A. Smith, out of every name I've seen floated, is the best bet you guys have. You will not find a better talker. You will not find someone who is better in front of the camera. You will not find some. Stephen A. Smith had a show for years where he just argued with people. You won't find a more animated speaker. You won't find a better debater. You won't find someone who can spin any fact, statistic, number, whatever you want it to be, in his favor better than Stephen A. Smith. And you know what? You won't find someone on your side who's more reasonable. Do I agree with Stephen A. Smith on every issue? Not even close. But you know what? He's got the balls to come out and say this trans women or these men playing women's sports is bullshit. This has to stop. This abortion up until the moment of birth is bullshit. It has to stop. This prioritizing, other countries over the United States is bullshit. It has to stop. This woke virtue signaling nonsense being prioritized over the well-being of American people has to stop. He's willing to point, all of those things out. He is your best bet going into 2028 if you want to defeat the Republicans. Dead serious. Here are the other names they floated. Not all of them are terrible. They're not all, Tim Walz is cartoonishly bad, but they're not all terrible. The other names I've seen floated, Gavin Newsom. He seems to be one of the odds-on favorites. Guys, here's the thing about Gavin Newsom is we talk about having a short news cycle and people being, short-minded in American politics, specifically federal and national politics. Here's the problem. Gavin Newsom ended his career with the way he responded to these fires. Now, he can try to throw Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, under the bus all he wants. He has been a disaster, and he has been caught lying on camera multiple times about this. He's ended his political career. His national hopes of holding any office outside of the state of California, over. His ambitions are done, and he knows it. The problem is, with the short news cycle thing here, is that Gavin Newsom, those fires, they're not going to have finished rebuilding by the time the 2028 election rolls around. So you'll have a living testament to what a disaster that guy's been right in front of your eyes. No way people vote for him. Mark Cuban, that's another name I've seen. So the party that's been attacking billionaires, while, taking money from even more billionaires than the Republicans do, but the party that's been attacking billionaires, saying they're secretly running the country with Trump and Musk, etc., is going to nominate Mark Cuban? Really? You would have to swallow every pill in the medicine cabinet if you're going to do that. He's moderate enough, he might win. He's got the name recognition, the money, the connections. Moderate, again, another guy, he's got Shark Tank, he's well-spoken in front of a camera. Moderate enough, he might win. They won't nominate him. I don't think he wants it. I think he wanted a job kind of similar to what Elon has. He publicly expressed that in the Harris cabinet. He's not going to do it. Another name, Jon Stewart from The Daily Show. This is what you're going to have to think outside the box. I don't think Jon Stewart wants that job either. Mark it off. Josh Shapiro, who I think would be perfect. Swing state governor. Well-spoken guy, moderate, but they got two big problems with him. The first one's the one we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where he may or may not have covered up a murder for a very wealthy and powerful family in Pennsylvania back when he was working in the justice system. The other problem is the Democrats have a major Jew problem. And it's true, they do. The Israel-Palestine thing has driven enough of their base away from any national Jewish candidate that the guy is not electable. He cannot win because 15% of their base will stay home or vote for somebody else because they just hate Jews. There's no way around it. They've broken their party. They've splintered the base off. A Jewish candidate, specifically one that's as proud of his Jewish heritage as Josh Shapiro is, will never get elected in mainstream Democrat politics. It won't happen. They will never elect him on a federal level. So there's one other name that's been circulating. And Bill Maher covered it. Go ahead. We're going to play some of Bill Maher's monologue on who he thinks could be the Democrats' Trump. Go ahead.
The Democrats need to find their Trump, not the authoritarian part, but the part where a politician bonds with everyday Americans because he talks like them. And the good news for Democrats is they have that guy. And his name is John Fetterman. after the election, instead of curling up in a ball, Fetterman went to Mar-a-Lago, where Trump assumed he was one of the guys from January 6th. And afterwards, Trump said, he's not liberal or conservative. He's just a common sense person, which is beautiful. And that's the kind of gay adjacent respect Trump usually reserves for Putin. Trump and Fetterman actually have a lot in common. They're both plain-spoken anti-elitists who come from money, married exotic immigrant ladies, went to Ivy League schools, and aren't afraid to take on their own party. And when the wind catches Trump's hair just right, they're both 6'8". Look, here's the thing. Voters aren't really savvy about the issues, but they do have made it clear what is important to them. Authenticity, balls, and charisma. Trump has that package, and so does Fetterman. He's only been a senator 2 years, and he's already more famous than most of his colleagues. Quick, I dare you to name this sad-looking lady from Washington State who's been in the Senate for 30 years. You can't teach charisma or balls. Fetterman is that rare Democrat who's not afraid to put the woke nonsense peddlers in his own party in their place, saying things like, wanting a secure border and realizing that it was out of control, that doesn't mean you're a xenophobe or a racist. He's been unequivocally pro-Israel, as are most Americans, and when pro-Palestinian protesters showed up at his home, he went up on the roof and waved an Israeli flag. Fetterman says the 4 words that strike fear in the heart of every Republican who wants to hang on to power. I am not woke. That's why Trump won. Not because Americans were clamoring for tariffs on margarita mix. Going where the American people are on crime and immigration, gosh, it's so crazy it just might work. See, that's how you get these things called votes. And once you do, you can take office.
So he's half right. I'll give Fetterman credit. I don't think he has charisma. I don't think that's the right way to put it. He does have balls, though. He does have balls. He is anti-woke. He appears to be, and I don't trust him, but he appears to be one of the more moderate Democrat senators, one of the few moderate Democrat senators, even though he voted no to banning men from playing in women's sports, but I digress. And he has shown some desire to reach across the aisle. So I'll give him credit for that. Do I think he's actually electable as president of the United States? No, I don't.
Big, stupid, ugly ogre.
For that reason, exactly. Now, Trump's not the best looking guy, but it's kind of charming. Fetterman looks like he's about to mug you at a gas station. I mean, when they say he looks like, Marr says that Fetterman looks like the average American. Pull the picture of him up over there. How many people do you know that look like that? I don't know anyone who looks like that. He doesn't look like the average American. J.D. Vance does. J.D. Vance is the average American. Fetterman comes from money. He's never had a real job outside of politics. He worked for his dad for decades prior to holding elected office. And I also don't find the basketball shorts and hoodie thing to be all that charming. I don't find it to be this wholesome, salt of the earth, middle class American act. It actually shows you what an elitist the guy really is. Because the reason he dresses like that is he wants to relate, quote unquote, to the people in his district more, or to the people in his state more. In Pennsylvania, very blue collar working class state. Let me tell you, man, as someone who grew up middle class, that ain't how middle class people dress to formal events. That's how trash dresses to formal events. Middle class people know we're not going to put on a $10,000 suit, but we'll put on some good clothes. Put on a nice button-down shirt, tie, some slacks, dress shoes, maybe a sport coat, and we'll go out and we'll look somewhat nice, right? We'll have a good time. Ain't nobody that's middle class that wears basketball shorts and a hoodie to a formal event like John Fetterman does. They don't do that. But that's what he thinks of you. John Fetterman is the coastal elitist's idea of what a working middle class American looks and acts like. He does not look like us. That is not how we dress to things like that. That is not how we conduct ourselves. Mia, I was going to ask if you knew people that wore basketball shorts to formal events, but they aren't middle class, though, are they?
They're very lower class.
Right, but Fetterman is meant to portray a middle-class American. They think that the average voter finds the way he dresses to be relatable, and it's not. Now, here, I'll give you another example. Ernie Chambers was a longtime senator in Nebraska and our unicameral, a state senator. Now, he was as liberal as they come. I probably disagree with the guy on 90% of issues, but Ernie Chambers, as we know, Nebraska state senators are not paid a hefty wage. Ernie Chambers always caused controversy because he would wear either a sweater or a polo shirt and a pair of jeans to the unicameral. Now, that's a little bit closer to how middle-class people dress. I can actually, as much as I disagree with him, the way Ernie Chambers dressed was a whole lot more respectable and relatable to the people in his district than the way John Fetterman dresses. Ernie Chambers dressed like he was actually just going to work, whereas John Fetterman dresses like a slob. It's a caricature that a rich coastal elitist has of a working class Midwesterner. It is not accurate. I stand by what I said. Nominate Stephen A. Smith, because that guy will be the Tim Walz effect. He will be the Tim Walz effect, and people will be insulted by the pandering. It's patronizing is what it is. Okay, let's go to the next segment here. AOC is in some trouble. AOC has caught herself in hot water, some spicy water. She's a Latina, right? Hot tequila. Can we say that? She's in some hot tequila right now, AOC, because she was recently advising criminal illegal aliens on how to avoid ICE detection and deportation in an online webinar. Now, it goes without saying, if any of you would advise people on how to not only violate federal law, but evade police while doing so, you would be in trouble. Now imagine if you did that on a recorded webinar, and then imagine if when you got called out on it by Tom Homan, the border czar for Donald Trump, you posted this on your Instagram story and tripled down on it. Go ahead. It says, if you see ICE in public, verified document, share it. Basically, it's a how-to guide on how to avoid being deported if you are here in this country illegally. So Tom Homan said we're going to be looking into pressing charges, potential criminal investigation into AOC for aiding and abetting. You can go ahead and close that now. And AOC wrote this to Attorney General Pam Bondi, who we know we're not big fans of on this show. She's been on our bad side with the Epstein and JFK thing, but here's what she said. She said, Dear Attorney General Bondi, I write to request clarity on whether the DOJ has yielded to political pressure and attempts to weaponize the agency against elected officials. Ain't that the pot calling the kettle black? Whose speech they disagree with. Over the past 2 weeks, border czar Tom Homan has gone on multiple forums threatening political prosecution. No, that's just prosecution, sweetheart, for breaking the law against me, citing resources I distributed, information, informing my constituents and the American public of their constitutional and legal rights. So hold on. So she goes on. So the Democrats have been telling us for the longest time that illegal immigrants don't vote. Yet AOC goes on an online webinar and informs people who are in this country illegally on how to evade ICE capture, on how to evade being deported, and then turns around and refers to them as her constituents. They're not your constituents. Did they vote for you? I thought they didn't vote for you. Okay, weird. It says on February 13th, 2025, Mr. Homan announced that he had asked the Deputy Attorney General to open an investigation that I will be in trouble now. It has been 14 days since he first threatened to weaponize your agency. but I have not yet heard any referral from the federal government. Homan's actions undercut core constitutional rights, and further transparency is necessary. So here's my question, Mia. How many hours of sleep do you think she's gotten since he made this threat? Because she knows she's in shit right now. How many hours of sleep total over these 14 days did she get after he said this? Because it's like, oh no, my actions have consequences now. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh no, I was just trying to do the math to like come up with maybe like a couple hours a day.
Yeah, you know, you know, like that heart drop feeling you get when you do something that you know you shouldn't have done, and then the consequences actually catch up with you for it. That's kind of what's going on here. I can imagine the way this woman must have just vomited her heart up through her throat. It says, so then she quotes the First Amendment, like that has anything to do with aiding and abetting fugitives. And she continues to go on and on. So they are investigating her, as it turns out. And check out this interview she did with NPR.
You had a recent dispute, if that's the right word, with Tom Homan, the president's Homeland Security czar, so-called. You held an online forum, a Know Your Rights forum, that he didn't like. What were you doing? What was your goal as you saw it?
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections, and in particular, their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
They're not citizens.
Homan was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally.
Mm-hmm.
Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents. Yeah.
He said he was going to report you, or even that he did reach out to the Department of Justice. Have you heard from the Department of Justice?
I have not, and I intend on reaching out to the Department of Justice to inquire.
Really? What would your question be for the Department of Justice?
Well, there is a member of the Trump administration who is threatening and seeks to open an inquiry, and are you going to do it?
What would you learn? What do you hope to learn from that exchange?
I think it's important to know where this administration stands and if they intend on using political intimidation to silence their critics.
She is so nervous. It's not political intimidation. You broke the law. You were part of the last administration that actually used political intimidation to silence its critics. It didn't work. You broke the law. You advised illegal immigrants, people who shouldn't even be in this country, on how to evade federal law enforcement so that they could continue breaking federal law. That is a crime in all 50 states and D.C. That has nothing to do with silencing opponents. Mia, here's my... Did she gain weight? Did you see her? She's gained weight. There were rumors going around that she was pregnant, but she denied them. So she's just gained weight. You can see in the face over there. She's just packed on the pounds. Usually Puerto Rican women wait until after they have kids to start throwing. Okay, that was racist. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Did I go too far there? Okay.
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little. That's, oh, you know, what can you do? You know, we talk about how the, we've talked about having some folks that are more connected to the political establishment on this show, and so many of them are so hesitant to come on the air and share a microphone with me. Why do you think that might be?
I have no idea.
I couldn't
It's a
imagine.
good question.
I couldn't imagine why people wouldn't want to come throw their names on this show. I have no idea. You know, it's fine. Okay.
Dan Osborne did.
You know what? Give Dan credit. And you know what? I was talking to someone that was close to this campaign, and to his credit, they said if Dan ran again, he'd probably come back on your show. So, you know, I'll give the guy credit where it's due. I don't dislike Dan as a person. He seems like a nice guy. His ads annoyed me, so we made a parody video that his opponent weaponized against him. That's not my fault. even though I agreed to let them do it for free. That's not my fault. Okay, we've got a couple more here, a couple more topics. So go to the next one over here. So the Supreme Court recently ruled that they confirmed the ruling of a federal judge on some of the USAID scandals here. So Donald Trump had identified about $2 billion worth of federal funding that was supposed to be spent on just pure waste coming from USAID and foreign aid. And he said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to spend this money. And a federal judge in one particular jurisdiction said, no, I think we are going to do this. You're not allowed to halt this funding. So, hold on, sorry, I'm reading a story that we're about to cover in a second here. But you're not allowed to halt this funding. So Donald Trump said, that's bullshit. We're going to appeal. They appealed up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court declined to support President Trump's effort to maintain a freeze on foreign aid, upholding a lower court order that mandates the swift disbursement of up to $2 billion to contractors. So the Supreme Court, 5-4. Amy Coney Barrett, who, by the way, I'm going to call her Amy Coney Barrett from now on, was a Trump-appointed justice. No, I talked about some of my criticisms with Donald Trump in his first term. Appointing bad people to roles was one of those criticisms I had. Amy Coney Barrett is no exception to that rule. In fact, she might actually be his worst hire. Now, she's not as bad as folks like John Bolton, folks like Jeff Sessions, but she may be his worst hire solely based on the fact that she is going to be the shit gift that keeps on giving. She's going to continue to fuck us in the ass because she's someone we thought that we could trust, but he put her on the Supreme Court, and she's going to do nothing but sell us out. Who knows what kind of dirt they have on this woman? Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas wrote a very good rebuttal to this decision. You can go it's all over Twitter. You can go read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you because I'm not going to bore you, and they're not my words or my take, but they're a very good take on this decision that I think everyone should look at. But this woman's going to continue to be a problem for us. And I'm disappointed because I had high hopes for her. But she's a problem at this point. I don't know how else to put it. She's the problem, it's her. Is that what you were dancing to over there?
No, high hopes.
Oh, I had to have high hopes for a living. Yeah, no, she's been an issue for us over here. Okay, let's go to the next one here. We got a quick one. Speaking of bad appointees, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General appointed by Donald Trump, has now announced that they are going to redact some of the Epstein documents due to, and I quote, national security concerns. Here's my question. What the hell could possibly be in documents about a child trafficker and the clients he trafficked these children to that would pertain to national security? And you know what? If it does pertain to national security, I think that makes it even more important that we find out why and who it relates to. Because I can't think of how it would actually pertain to national security unless it, destabilized public support for Israel, because Ghislaine Maxwell's father was a Mossad agent and Epstein has well-documented connections to Israel. That's really the only thing I could think of there. I mean, I can't imagine Epstein was, talking to this guy and he was like, yeah, thank you for trafficking me, that 13-year-old girl. By the way, here's the nuke codes. Can't imagine that was going on, like with Bill Clinton or somebody like that. I don't think it played out that way. So the only thing I can see here is the Israel connection, which is shameful. And unfortunately, one of my top criticisms of this administration has been how pro-Israel they are, even at the expense of their own people. Now, the last administration was also pro-Israel, but they were pro-other countries as well. I'll take the lesser of the two evils any day of the week. But with that said, it should concern all of you that evidently a pedophile trafficking children to other pedophiles somehow pertains to national security in this country. Like, how deep does that rabbit hole go? And what do they not want us to know? You also had the head of the FBI in New York resign after refusing to hand the documents over. This came at the same time. He refused to hand these documents over at the same time. You had several FBI agents arrested for destroying documents pertaining to the Epstein case. So, okay, great. He resigned. Let's arrest this guy next. Because you don't refuse to give documents over like that unless you're covering up evidence. Let's arrest this guy next. Let's send him to jail and see who he knows and what he's done. Next one. I'm going to roll rapid fire here. So this is what I didn't touch when it initially started, when the story initially blew up a couple of weeks ago. But this is the most, again, we're talking about what soulless vassals the Democrats have become. This is perhaps the finest example of all of them. So there was a little girl, she was 11 years old in Texas, named Jocelyn Rojo Carranza, and she committed suicide. Now, this was initially reported by every left-wing media personality and grifter and news source in the country that the reason this girl committed suicide is because her mother's immigration status was, let's say, questionable, and her classmates were bullying her, saying they were going to call ICE and have her mother deported so that she would be left in the country alone. So she got depressed and killed herself. Well, that's been the official story for the longest time, and I didn't cover it because not because I want to cover up our own anything. First off, these are 11-year-old kids. It's not our side. It wouldn't be covering that up. But because I knew that there was more to this story, because every time the Democrats come up with some story like this, like you saw with the girl in Mississippi, the 13-year-old or whatever that, got raped and didn't get an abortion because it wasn't allowed, but it turned out it was allowed. And the reason that she didn't get the abortion was because her parents were told by left-wing grifters online that if they tried to get one, they'd be arrested. So they were misinformed and their own party forced her to have the rape baby. They stopped talking about that one as well. The reason they stopped talking about this story, though, and I knew something like this was going to come, so I was like, okay, let's just sit here and wait. The reason they stopped talking about this story was because there was a little bit more to it. Now, what they reported is that her so-called MAGA classmates were terrorizing her to the point she committed suicide. Side note, 11-year-olds are not MAGA. They're not MAGA, they're not liberal, they're not conservative, they're not independent, they're 11-year-olds. They don't have fully developed brains, nor do they have fully developed opinions. Were you thinking about tariffs, Mia, and immigration policy when you were 11 years old?
Of course. I don't know what you were thinking about.
That's all I was thinking about. Yep. Foreign aid, things like that. So, as it turns out, the school stepped in and said, hey, this sensationalist bullshit, not only is it not helping, and is it rubbing dirt in the situation? Or is it rubbing salt in the wound here? It's not telling the whole story. This is intentionally leaving key details of the story out. So as it turned out, according to New York Post and an investigation by the school district, there was one student on the bus who made racial comments about ICE and deportation to a group of Hispanic students on the bus while she was in earshot, not directly to her, not threatening to deport her or to report her, but made a comment to a group of students on the bus. That's not why she killed herself, believe it or not. The reason she killed herself is because she was being sexually abused, reported it, and nobody did anything. And the Democrats have run with this story, and of course they've stopped talking about it. They haven't. We correct ourselves whenever we get something wrong on this show, but they haven't stopped, or they've completely ceased talking about it. They haven't issued any type of retraction. They haven't corrected the issue on the record. They just let it die. And the majority of their followers, the majority of their base, will never hear the truth about this story. And that's why it's going to be hard to get justice for this girl. Now, I don't know what happened. I'm not going to speculate on family life or anything like that. But this is evidence that there is no low that the left is not willing to stoop to. No low. They will go as low as they can if it means they can hurt the so-called other side. Whether it be not clapping for a little boy with brain cancer, whether it be spreading rumors about a girl who killed herself at 11 years old because she was being sexually abused by God knows who. But anything for the ends always justify the means, right, you guys? You fucking idiots make me sick. Okay, let's go to the next one here. I'm going to try and get these at least 2 of these last 3 segments done. Okay, so the Oscars have officially jumped the shark. They gave the Best Picture award to a movie called Anora. And the lead actress, what's her name? Mikey Madison. She gave this speech after accepting the role, or after accepting the award for Best Actress. They basically swept the Oscars with this movie. Go ahead.
Forgive me, I'm nervous. I'm going to read off of a paper, but thank you so much to the Academy. I grew up in Los Angeles, but Hollywood always felt so far away from me. So to be here, standing in this room today is really incredible. Thank you, Neon, Film Nation, Universal. Thank you to my incredible family, my mom and my dad and my sister and my little brother and my twin brother, Miles. Thank you for being my best friend, not that you have a choice. Thank you, Sean Baker, Sammy Kwan, Alex Coco, Drew Daniels, Yura, Mark, Vache, Karin. Thank you, Ann Woodward, Rachel Arlick, Nikki Fioravante, Rich, Dean, Dan, Don, Fareed Ward. Thank you, Brighton Beach, for lending us your beautiful backdrop and incredible community. Also, thank you to Kennedy Schneider. Thank you to our incredible consultants.
Not God, though.
I also just want to again recognize and honor the sex worker community.
Of course.
Yes. I will continue to support and be an ally. All of the incredible people, the women that I've had the privilege of meeting from that community has been one of the highlights of this entire incredible experience.
Okay, that's enough.
I also just want to recognize the thoughtful.
So there you have it. That's what they're gonna. That's their big push coming up here. A couple years ago, they had a movie called Moonlight that they pushed. Nobody heard. The best picture at the Oscar is always a movie nobody's ever heard of. You ever notice that? So that's a movie about a prostitute who falls in love with a Russian oligarch, and there's drama with the parents and everything. But it's glorifying prostitution. Sean Baker, the director, speaking backstage after the movie, said that. Sex work has an incredible unfair stigma applied to it and suggested it should be decriminalized. So that's going to be the push for degeneracy. So even if it's a movie you've never heard of, as long as it promotes degeneracy, the Oscars are going to push it, right? And this falls right in line with the porn push that the Democrats have had. There's a clip from the movie. I was going to play a montage of just how graphic this movie is, but it'd get us kicked off of YouTube if we did, so I'm not going to. But we don't need to show it anyway. But you can go look it up for yourself. It's all over X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. This is a softcore porno, this movie. That's basically what this is. And any chance they can to push degeneracy, they're going to do it. Like I said, right in line with the porn push you saw from the Democrats back in November. Mia, do you remember that movie we almost walked out of, but we didn't because we hadn't gotten our food that we had already paid for yet?
Licorice Pizza.
Yes, every now and then you see these movies that pop up out of nowhere. They act like they're this indie movie with no, major funding or anything like that. And then it turns out there's a whole bunch of Hollywood elites that are not only in the movie, but paying for it. And it's got this, they bill it as just a normal love story, but it's got this horrible message to it that is central to the plot. And they act like it's no big deal. In Licorice Pizza, you had a girl who was in her mid-20s dating and falling in love with a 15-year-old. They conveniently left that out of the plot description for the movie. Nobody knew anything about it. We went down, saw it, and we were horrified. And I'm like, they were just like normalizing it like it was the fucking Notebook or something. They were trying to act like this relationship between this girl in her mid to late 20s and this 15-year-old kid was normal, and we should just ignore the fact. It was blatant pedophile propaganda, and it was pushed by the same people that are pushing this nonsense. Let me break this down to you real quick. Sex work is not real work. If you have a problem with that, go cry about it. Here's why it's not real work. It's its own category. It's sex work. If I hire you to work at a Burger King, and I tell you, and I hire you as a fry cook, and I say, hey, cashier Linda just called in sick for the day. I'm going to need you to go fill in on the register because we don't have any other cashiers. And you say, no way, I'm not doing that. Guess what? I can write you up. And if I've written you up enough times for insubordination, I can fire you. Now, let's say I hire, because cashiering is work, just like being a fry cook is work. Different job descriptions, but they're both work, right? I can make you do them. Now, let's say that I hire you to be a fry cook at Burger King, and I go, okay, now suck my dick. You send me nudes at 7 p.m. every Friday, and you say no. If I fire you, if I write you up, if I even ask you to do any of those things, not only can you get me fired, not only can you get the company fined, you can sue for massive amounts of money. Why? Because sex work is not real work. If we're going to categorize sex work as work, the same way we categorize being a cashier, taking out the trash, flipping burgers, you open up the door to people abusing young and innocent women under the guise of so-called work. So sex work has to be its own category. It is not work. Okay, last one. We'll go to we're going to skip Casey Anthony. I don't care. We're not going to give that whore attention. Speaking of sex work, I don't think she's not on OnlyFans, is she? That wasn't her big announcement. Okay. So the last one, the liberals are just like the Catholics, are going through a 40-day cleansing period through Lent, or as some people call it, the Mark Wahlberg 40-day challenge. Liberals are announcing a 40-day boycott of Target. 40-day boycott of Target after they got rid of their DEI policies. Now, here's the funny part of this to me. Target was a darling corporation of the left. They loved Target. They put the transgender dog toys out, you know, the bikinis for little boys so that they could tuck and be trans and just all that repulsive shit. Trump won. The tides changed politically and socially in this country. And Target all of a sudden rolled all that shit back. So we're done doing that. And in fact, even when it was late 2024, when it was starting to look like Trump might win, they announced in 2024 that they weren't going to carry their Pride Month merchandise in more conservative markets because they saw the writing on the wall. Now, I don't think Target cares politically either way. I think they are a corporation. They do what I call virtue capitalism, where they go with whatever the mainstream tide, or they trend whatever direction the mainstream tide is. So if the mainstream tide appears to be liberal, they're going to sell a bunch of trans crap. If it appears to be conservative, they're going to make a big deal about how they're getting rid of DEI and they're rolling all the pride stuff back. I don't think they care either way. I don't think they have opinions on these social issues. They only see one social issue, and that issue is how much money can we make, which is really a fiscal one if you think about it. So I don't think Target gives a rat's ass either way. But I find it hilarious because while this company used to be one of the most woke darlings of the left ever, now they've turned on them. Because it just goes to show the mob mentality these people have. And this is a perfect way to bring the show full circle here. The mob mentality that the left has. You are only useful to the left as long as you are willing to toe the line. The second you step out of line, the second you walk away from the hive mind, they're done with you. They chew you up, they spit you out. You are of no use to them. And not only are they going to ostracize you and kick you out of social settings, they're going to actively try to destroy you. Because if you're not with them, you're against them. And that's what I've always said. If you run with the mob, it is only a matter of time until the mob consumes you. When you make that group of people, and Target sales have been down because they pandered to those people for so long and they lost a lot of conservatives. When you make those people your base, those people who will turn on you at a heartbeat because they do it to everybody else, it's only a matter of time. That is very shaky, unsturdy ground to build your foundation on. Now, if you're a company that decides to stay apolitical, the left may not shop there. It may not be as lucrative. But when the tides change, both culturally and politically in this country, you're not going to see these same rapid ups and downs that companies like Target and companies like Facebook and companies like Amazon are seeing because you didn't align yourself with these unhinged psychopaths that have made the culture war and left-wing virtue signaling their whole personality. That's been our show. We will see you Monday for unsolicited advice. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.